Okay, guys. Obviously, a big week as always, but certainly play. I think two of the best teams in the country here in Purdue on Tuesday, and then at Wisconsin. And I think in Purdue you have certainly one of the hottest teams in the country right now, given what they've done. Their their last couple road wins have been extremely impressive. um, so they're obviously playing really well now. Again, I think they're one of the hottest teams in the country. I think they're a really good team. They're really physical. I thought our game there, um, and I felt this about Purdue, but probably more so this year that I think they're. I've always felt like they're a really physical team. I just think this team in particular's this Purdue team's. It's one of the most physical teams we've played against, and that was the case at their place. Um, they've got a great will about them, offensively and defensively. Obviously, Matt's a tremendous coach, and they've got skill, and then obviously they have a elite big. Um, and then a young big who both present problems in the low post. So, um, quick turnaround for us, quick turnaround for them um, here with this change in the date due to a couple COVID things. So we'll need to be ready tomorrow here.
Okay, we'll start off with Adam Jardy.
Hi, Chris. Given that you guys have this 3-game winning streak here, and you've done it without at least the last two straight up without your two primary ball handlers, some people might feel that you could be better off without the guys that have been running the point because the offense has in some cases looked better. How has not having CJ and Jimmy impacted your offense as far as like what you can do and how different you might look with Justice there as opposed to CJ or Jimmy?
Yeah, I just think we've looked different. I would not say better. I think we've just looked different. We played well offensively. Our numbers defensively maybe haven't been quite as good. But I think we've just looked different with with Justice handling the ball. The way that Purdue pressures and takes you out of stuff, it's a bit like what we saw against Illinois with their ability there in the second half. And some of those were self-induced, but just our inability to get what we wanted to on the offensive end and kind of wear us down a little bit. I think we've just looked a little bit different. I think adding Justin to the lineup and his shooting, obviously, as well as he shot it. But I also thought we did some good things offensively with when Jimmy was in there in the Rutgers game. But I think both the addition of Justice playing the point guard and Justin being out there, and then Michi providing some burst and athleticism and quickness and some scoring has been it's been welcome because it's certainly what we needed in light of our point guards having injuries.
And are you getting any closer to maybe getting one or both of those guys back? So I'm doing some very light stuff before the game the other day, but are they making some progress?
CJ Walker is being evaluated tomorrow. He will be out for tomorrow's game. Jimmy, I think, is still on a day-to-day, game-to-game basis based on how his shoulder is feeling and the next step for him, whatever that's going to look like.
Okay, next up we'll go to Griffin Strong.
Hey, Coach. How would you assess your guys' approach and execution and matching up with Travion Williams the last time you guys met? And do you plan on doing anything differently this time, if anything?
Hopefully we play him better than what we did last time. Give him credit. He made some tough shots. He also made a lot of plays for others, which is what he does. And he also does a tremendous job on the offensive glass. He got 6 offensive rebounds, I think, yesterday. He's just a really good player. He's just a really good player. And I think we'll need to obviously do some things to try to make it really difficult for him. But it's really going to be on us collectively to try to slow him down and compete for 40 minutes against him.
And then if I can sneak in one more, the last 2 seasons for you guys, this kind of early to mid-January stretch was kind of a slog for you guys. You had some tough skids over those periods. But obviously this year you guys are playing great right now. What do you think it is about this team that's kind of allowed you guys to sidestep kind of having a similar period there?
Yeah, Griffin, I don't know. I think, a lot gets made of that. Our first year, I think we almost won every game in January. So I don't know that I really point to, we're talking about, what was it, the last 2 years, we really struggled. I don't know that I really point to anything specifically that we did different in year one that we didn't do in year 2 or 3, or flipped back to what we were doing in year one. It's not that. I think we'll see. The last couple, those years where we did struggle a little bit in January, we were also playing our best basketball for the most part in February and March, certainly last year. So that's our goal every year. The ebbs and flows of the season, people can make that what they want. For us, it's just, we're just trying to focus on continually getting better. And in this league, you're going to get beat up some, and you got to have short-term memory loss and move forward.
Next up, Bill Landis.
Hey, Chris. I'm wondering about the offseason leading up to this year when guys were on their own for a lot of the time. Then when they got back, it seemed like it was mostly individual or small group stuff. How you feel that might have impacted a player's development, maybe compared to a normal offseason? And maybe more specifically, is there any benefit at all to having that extra time to kind of work on yourself? I know it's not an ideal situation, but is there anything to be gained from having that extra time to work on your individual skill set?
I think having time to do skill work and to work with coaches is always beneficial, Bill. I really do. And I think we've seen some guys take some step forwards in terms of their specific skills. I think Kyle has improved in some specific areas in terms of skill around the post. And obviously we're aware of what EJ's been able to do. And I think that his game is still very much growing. And then a number of other guys, but I think it's really what you take advantage of and how you take advantage of it. The off season is really for players to see what they can add to their games. And we want them to add to their games. We want them to do things that are uncomfortable. If guys never shot a 3 and we're asking him to stretch the defense a little bit, we're going to want him to shoot a ton of 3s in the off season. For a guy like Zed, for example, his upcoming off season will be important in a couple specific areas in terms of stretching his game. So I think it's always important. I don't know if it's affected guys. You'd have to ask them specifically if it affected them more than a normal off season.
And maybe specifically with EJ, how did you see him approach that? And maybe what were some of the uncomfortable areas that you were hoping to see him get into during this offseason?
I think we just, with him, he's such a talented young man that I think you're constantly pushing on him to maximize each and every day, because the gifts that he has. And you also know that there's a process to this, and he's a young kid and still kind of understanding that. So there's a balance there. But obviously we knew that he was going to play maybe more facing up this year. And, he got a lot of skill work in. He got frustrated at times. He still does. When he maybe doesn't shoot it like he wants to, but that's just one aspect of his game that's continuing to grow, and it's not there yet completely. He's got to continue to embrace every aspect of the game. But I think for him, he had a good off season. And even when I know he was working out back home with some guys, and he would send us video, and his guys back home would send us videos, and we saw he was getting great work done there during the pandemic months.
Okay, next up, Whitney Harding.
Hey, Chris, kind of a college basketball question in general. You guys are up to 15 this week, but it's the first time since I think 1961 that neither Duke, Kentucky, nor North Carolina has been in the poll. What does that say about where college basketball is headed right now, or is it just another thing of this wacky season?
Yeah, I wasn't aware that you're saying that Carolina, Duke, and Kentucky.
None of those three are in the poll this week. First time since I think 1961. Kind of wild.
Yeah, that is obviously is wild, and I think maybe as much as anything, it speaks to the consistency of those programs, and that's a long time. 61. We had some good years. Bill remembers that on here. We had some good years in the 60s. But I think it speaks to their overall consistency, and it speaks to, I think, what you've seen, Whitney, in college basketball in the last number of years is there is a lot of really good teams, and there is an overall balance in our game that's maybe different than in other sports. I think you certainly have traditional blue blood powers in college basketball. There's no question, just like you do in college football. But I do think there's overall a little more parity in our game across the board. You see more teams that sneak into the top 25, and that might occasionally bump out some teams. I've not followed those three teams close enough necessarily know exactly where they're at. But it does speak to the overall, I think, parity in our game.
And one more, if I can sneak it in. Last time you guys played Purdue after the game, you said that they were one of those teams that just out-physicaled you guys. So what has this group learned since that game to put them in better position this time around?
Well, we'll see. We'll see. I think, Whitney, I think we've gotten better with each passing week, even in spite of these injuries here. But they've also gotten better. Again, they're playing exceptional right now. So they just bring a physicality, and Purdue always has, but this team in particular, I think some of it is their bigs are really physical, but their guards are very physical too. So we'll see how we handle that. I'm not expecting us to handle it perfect, but I hope we handle it better, particularly on the offensive end than what we did last time.
Thanks, Chris.
Sure.
Okay, next up, Patrick Murphy.
Chris, sort of a similar question, but when you play a team a second time, how much do you go back and show the guys film from the last game? How much is it just working on you? I mean, how do you do that when you see a team again in a season?
It's a lot of looking at what they did and how they attacked us, and what we can do as coaches to maybe put our guys in better positions, or what we have to do as players to execute better, as coaches to execute better. I think that's it as much as anything. Patrick, you do try to work on both, but the reality is right now your focus can't be exclusively on the other team, just because this is still so much a process of trying to figure out what you can do better. But you're obviously focused. You watch a lot of the other team, you watch a lot of their games, and then obviously the game we played against them.
Okay, next up, Stephen Means.
Coach, trying to the point you were talking about earlier with the January thing, do you guys even bring that up as a conversation at all of, maybe when January hits, of making sure you're keeping up the level of play that you guys were playing at in the non-conference schedule?
No, because listen, it's apples and oranges, guys. Even the non-conference we played, it's apples and oranges. There's no comparison. It's a complete another level and a level up consistently who you're playing from night in to night out when you're in the best league in the country. So, we don't even, the whatever the records was and all that, it's not an accurate comparison because you're not playing in the non-conference. Quite honestly, you're not playing Big Ten level competition, most nights. And that part of that is because you're trying to get your team kind of into the season. You're trying to figure some things out. So then you get into what's been the best league in the country the last couple of years. It can be a bit of an adjustment. So I think, again, we never talked about, after year one, talked about, our streak in January that we had in year one where we won a bunch of games, and we never talked about, struggle in the last couple of years in January. It's not come up.
And with the physicality, I know one of the big things with Justice is him maybe adjusting to that and getting comfortable with the physicality in the Big Ten that you don't necessarily get in the Pac-12, especially being in this role he's in right now until CJ and Jimmy get back. How have you seen him kind of, I don't want to say get comfortable, but maybe adjust to, the level of play here in the Big Ten?
Good, but still got a lot of room for improvement. He's I give him a credit. He's went from being, not a primary ball handler to forced into a point guard role. And I give him a lot of credit. He's had to play through some mistakes, but he's gotten better. But tomorrow will be a huge test with how physical they are. And they affected him in game one with just their on-ball physicality. They bumped him off a lot of cuts and just made it very difficult for him. And that'll be the same thing tomorrow night. We just have to handle it better.
Okay, we'll go back to Adam Jardy.
Chris, what is the challenge like as you guys are evaluating who's playing well and who's not? When you are dealing with injuries that you expect those guys to come back, and so you've got guys stepping into new roles that maybe they won't have those roles in like a week or two. What is it like right now evaluating like how well different guys are playing when they're being forced into some different spots?
Yeah, Adam, it's something, honestly, I can't say I've had a ton of experience with it to this degree because we haven't had injuries to this level in the past or injuries to this position in the past like this. But I do think I think there is some conversation, some thought, some conversation between myself and those players and our team and our coaching staff to figure out what's best. And do minutes need to be adjusted? Do you roll with kind of the same group and the same amount of minutes? How do you tweak that? What's best overall for our team right now? All those are things that add to what we have to figure out here. So that's something we're going to have to figure out. There's no question. It's something as a coaching staff, we're going to have to think through what's best for our team in terms of the overall minute distribution when we do have a guy or two return.
And I was asking you earlier about like what you've looked like offensively with Justice as opposed to CJ, but defensively, you guys aren't maybe posting some of the numbers you've posted, and I know like efficiency wise, looks like you guys have some work to do. Are we not talking enough about the defensive impact that you're feeling there, and what is that like as you look at that end of the court right now? Just trying to mix and match a little bit there too.
Yeah, I think it's. I think the injuries probably have played a part in it, Adam. And then I think collectively, as we talked about before the season got started, I think we recognized that could be a challenge for our group. And there's a couple different reasons going by. I didn't necessarily feel like, I thought, a couple of our teams had chances to be really elite defensively. We're talking top 15, top 20 in the country. I think for us to maximize our ability, we need to be better. That might be hard to get to those numbers, but we need to be better. And we've got to embrace that more right now.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, Casey Smith.
Hey, Coach. So late in games, there have been a little bit of a struggle to necessarily put away a team against Northwestern. There was a timeout late, and then the team responded well with about 2.5 minutes left. It was the same thing with free throw struggles. Without CJ Walker, who's shooting 97% free throws this year, do you find your offense running through somebody else to help close out a game?
Yeah, we have, and I think as much as anything, it's just been. I think we felt CJ's absence in our press attack late in games as much as anything. And as you mentioned, his ability to kind of calm us down, make the right play, get fouled, make free throws, handle the ball. You know, and I also think it's hurt us a little bit trying to initiate some offense against Illinois, against their pressure. But, you know, we've got to, you know, again, our group, we just have to get better with that collectively, coaches and players. We just got to get better at executing that. You know, you're not going to limit a team every game from climbing back and making a run in this league. But hopefully we can do some things to just improve in that area.
All right. And then it was a point made earlier about Travion Williams' success just in the last game. What kind of impact do you see EJ playing, not only offensively, but defensive on the defensive end as well?
Well, he's going to need to have his best defensive game in this game. And I think I could say that about all of our post guys. They're going to need to have their best defensive game of the year. Again, they're the most physical team I think that we've played really in the last. They're up there in terms of the most physical teams we've played in the last couple of years, and it begins with Travion. He pursues the offensive glass as good as anybody we've played against, and he's got an elite back to the basket game. You know, there's a reason why I think he was a preseason first team all league pick. But no question, our collection of bigs are going to need to have their best defensive game of the year.